Good morning, friends. Good morning, audience. Today is video number 4 of what the plot in Soylent Green, dollar, Soylent Yellow Gold, and Soylent Crypto, and exchange of crypto as well as the stock market currency. The videos that I made already with visual play of the movie itself, while I made comments were blocked, so I'm making this without. You can watch the movie as you listen to these or watch my videos. They will correspond. You will be able to figure out what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to the general comment is what has been shown in that movie is actual thought the for the seizure of the world economy and world wealth, accompanied by cryptocurrency, accompanied by stock market or virtual money, and then accompanied by some pandemics and so many things like .com and the invasion by Russia of Europe to Europe and other things as well, or Iran, the Middle East, and China taking over Asia, starting with Taiwan and things of the sort, right? And the nemesis was generated in North Korea to put the United States in check, to say that the United States is being threatened by North Korea and so on. So this is an integral play here, but it faltered. We know that. I mean, the success was partial, and the whole operation now is in question, even though it's been being planned for decades and worked on for decades and so on. And so far, since the last century, right? But so far, the consequences is hundreds of millions of innocent people unarmed died and killed, and hatred and terrorism and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna pause. So now, as Saul Ross, as well as his Oliver Twist or Thorne or Charlton Heston, who's an arm of the law now, instead of pickpocketing, the light goes dim, right? The light bulb dims. Why? Because there's no energy, so they generate their own energy by way of bicycle and alternator, car alternator, and a number of batteries connected in parallel and so on. And you also see that at the house of Tad Fielding. She has that generator with handles, right? By hand and so on. What they're trying here to say is, when they ate the food, it's tasteless, it's crud, and then at the same time they dim the light, meaningly the money they're getting is not enough. It's tasteless, right? And it's even not enough to generate even light, right? So what here Saul Ross is saying is that the normal money that you get by way of working hard or being genius or manufacturing things or being a trader and is no longer satisfactory, right? That's what he's saying here. Again, the money they talk about is fossil fuel. That's the dollar, or sometimes they say it's a plankton in the sea, right? And the clean energy is really the cryptocurrency or virtual money or stock market or stocks or something of the sort. That's what they mean by that. So when you hear them talk about Blue Deal, you remember Sanders, what's his name? Sanders. So Sanders, the candidate for presidency, talking about Blue Deal and talking about 16 trillion for climate. 16 trillions up front. He was going to just drop 16 trillions of the United States and give it to stock market and cryptocurrency and so on. And Blue Deal, meaningly Israel, right? 16 trillion, right? And he calls it climate deal, right? So here's someone, now the robber comes into the store, doesn't even have to carry a gun, right? Why? Because the owner of the store is his slave now. Or the manager of the store is someone he owns. Well, like Thorne, like Oliver Twist, of the sort. If you want to watch Oliver Twist, it's the 1948 movie released by the BBC. It's free. It's on YouTube. So now he says, before our scientists, scientific magicians poisoned the water. If he's talking about nature, some of that is true, yes. Uh, Lots of that is true, but that's not what he's talking about. Food used to be food, right? But now the scientists brought new things about, like virtual money calculations, stock markets, and so on and so forth, and credit card, right? Credit card, we use no computers or communications. When I was 18 and worked in stores and stuff like that, we used to call, right? To verify if the card is valid or has or good. There was, I remember in the 80s, there was no debit card. It was all credit cards. So that's what he's talking about here. And now he goes up on the bicycle, that alternator to really generate some money. He has to work hard, right? He has to work hard. And that's crud for him. Why live like that, right? Also, when he goes up, rides the bicycle or the cycle to generate energy, what he's trying to say is that Sol Ras Lechaim, right, works hard for his money and legit, and that's what he does, right? Food is food, and so on. And we can't be farther from the truth, folks. Can't be farther from the truth. Not one day, not 1 minute, not for thousands of years. There was nothing legitimate there. Also, there's like the spin zone here about Solras, being hardworking and innocent of what's going on and so on. This is just a stint. When he says about, when he talks about food is food, of the sort and so on. And that Santini really is behind all this. Can't be farther from the truth, but it's the other way around. Well, I'm not saying Santini or Vito Corleone is innocent of what's going on, but if you want to compare the two, you're comparing a pebble on the beach to an entire ocean, right? Okay, so now as Solras is cycling, he tells him about Soylent Green, and then he finished it last night. I know I finished that last night, and so on. Now, after they talked about crud, after they talked about generating light, and after they talked about poisoned oceans and waters and environment, now they're eating Soylent Green. So, sure, I mean, it may appear to you as a normal conversation, but the stage of it, the staging of it is a telltale of what they're talking about, and that's like the crud is no good, tasteless. You have to generate power on your own. Well, the power generation now here is the clean, efficient energy, right? By bicycle and alternator. You don't have to use nuclear energy or fossil fuel like coal, like oil anymore, right? So when they cycle, that's generating, they're talking about clean, efficient energy, and that's cryptocurrency or virtual money by way of stock market. That's how they fleece people of their money, right? Remember the dot-com bust and the home and loan savings in the 80s, theft and 1929 Dust Bowl when the stock market crashed. Oh man, things are going on by leaps and bounds. The soul grasses and the thorns and whoever it is, oh, they're going at it in massive, right? And they're sending you to fight, kill innocent people in the Middle East here and there, right? Get them busy, get you busy by Vietnam and whatnot, right? So now Thorn tells Solras while he's on the bicycle just before he left that he's gonna hustle some more and he hopes not to get caught of that Soylent Green, like stock market and exchange and whatnot, right? The exchange here means three things. One, it means the stock market. Two, it means the cryptocurrency exchange. Three, it means the exchange where they have all these records on people. So if you're valuable or if you have values or dollar or anything else, they know where to bite you and hurt you, where they make you cough up that dollar and go back to Animal Farm, as they say, in the exchange, that private hidden exchange in where all these women and people are the older ones, right? They have records and they discuss how to destroy you, right? And that's what it is here. Is really what the exchanges are. So he says, "Vaya con Dios," just before Thorn leaves the house, and then go with God, right? What? Now here it's a little bit confusing. According to Sol Ras and their literature, the one I know of, God is a private property. I ask for forgiveness from Allah, right? And and he used the word schmuck, right? Do you remember the word schmuck? Well, uh, God, and then he uses that, and then he calls him schmuck, and so on. He's calling him schmuck, you know who, right? To them, he is a private property. He is to be subdued, uh, and that's what God is to them. Even though supposedly they believe, or they know, not believe. These guys don't understand what belief is, right? They know that He created them, that He did so and so to them, and so on. But they want to own Him, right? He's just like you and I. And His words, or whatever He supposedly teaching they have, is not to be given to the genitalias. Gentiles. Why? Because that's like throwing parallels before the swine, according to their uh, 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 sickly literature. Okay, now Thorn leaves the house, and then he starts jumping on the stairs between those buddies. These are the victims, of course, the ones that whoever had savings, a job, whatever it is, right? And they lost all that due to this virtuality, due to the massive transfer of wealth, even on small basis, right? Even doesn't mean if you're going to lose your money and whatnot, or your wealth or your job. If you're rich, right, you will lose it even if you have a dollar, right? To them, there's no mercy in the process of or let up in the process of wealth transfer or fleecing of people of their jobs and so on and so forth. Now, if you notice, when Thorn here uh, 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 starts jumping over, on the stairs or stairwell, starts jumping over those people sleeping on the steps, right? You will notice in the corner there is a Chinese man with an AR-15 rifle, I think. He's the guard. They never say anything about him. They never say he needed a guard, right? That this nest here, where Thorn and Solras operate, that has a protection, but it's got an AR, like Chinese man is protecting them. The significance of that is big deal, folks. Let's go back and address that point. Solras transferred, well, beginning or starting with his brother Nixon, right? Richard Nixon. Started, and they basically transferred the entire values, or middle class, or manufacturing, or patents, or finances, or dollar, everything, almost everything. They transferred that to three different locations: China, Iran, and Russia, which are the tripod of Israel, right? For this future new world order that will return everybody to Animal Farm, or whoever is left of them, right? Of the other people, the genitalians. Gentiles. Sorry, I keep making that mistake. I don't know. Or heathen, or like me, like a goyim, things of the sort, right? So China is now military power. So United States can, and not just that, they also sanction it here because they own the government. Now United States cannot stand up and resist and prevent the transfer of its giant ingenuity and its patents and everything else, in Europe for that matter, to China and elsewhere, right? So what they do is now they get China is a military power, right? It's got nuclear weapons and so on and so forth. They even transferred the military technology to China. That's how they make. It took a lot of research in the United States to say, for example, design and build like stealth fighters. Russell Ross basically sent it to them overnight, and now they build their own stealth. Not that it's better than what the United States have. No, it's not. So that's what this scene here is all about. Is that the Chinese man in the corner with the AR-15? He's the protection for the Sol Ross and their operation in case things happen, right? All right, we'll continue. And while he's jumping and over these people, there's agony. There's that in front around on the stairwell of that pod or cell of Sol Ross, protected by the Chinese. On the steps, there's agony, and there's despair and sense of hopelessness, and babies crying, and so on and so forth. And that's a miniature picture of the world, really. In fact, that's what this is here. You know, China's got the gun protecting the pod or cell, or that edifice, you know, hidden edifice, small edifice that appears to be benign when there's, oh, a whole universal operation going on in there. And those people basically are there, you know, to die. And I mean, Thorn didn't even care to tell them to take off, right, and clear the stairs and sleep on the sidewalk, right? Uh, but this signifies something. And here, the hidden picture is ruthlessness. You know, no mercy, right? You know, that's what you see in the book of, or in the literature or teachings of Friedrich Nietzsche, Rabbi Friedrich Nietzsche. If you read his books and understand what he's talking about, he preaches some deadly stuff. You know, his that book, Thus Speaks Zarathustra. Oh, that is a book of evil, folks. That teaches people how to basically cannibalize other people and so on. It, you know, it's, for some people it's hard to understand, but once you catch the thread, uh, you will discover horror in there, and that is in fact now widely widespread and practiced by so many people wherever you go. Now in the square between the buildings, you know, there are those cars, you know, strewn around. Uh, Breakdowns, you know, like they're broken, they're no longer moving, and uh, you know, there's that squalor and poverty, and you know, just chaos and people. In, you know, if you imagine it, if you imagine it like an animal farm, only with cars that are no longer functional, no longer operational, and buildings and you know things of the sort. And at the end, you will see there's like that triangle or rectangle with a cross sign on it, and that tells you that this is the world of so and so that has come to this now, right? Uh, so now Mr. Donovan shows up and talks to Gilbert, who is sitting on top of a station wagon, and the whole thing is blue. There's some red in the background, and you know he's sitting on, and on top of the car there's some kind of an aquarium or a glass container with water. Donovan is anonymous, right? He's got that red cap, red cap, right? Red, okay. In my opinion, yellow means Chinese or Oriental, right? Brown means us, you know, like caramel brown. So that's Arabs, Indians, Africans as well. Uh, Pink or red, I think, means Anglo-Saxons or white people of northwestern Europe. That's what I'm thinking. So now he's wearing a red cap, means he's white, or red devil, I don't know. So now he's come to task him with a mission, right? You know, secret mission. So also another indicator in the scene where Donovan comes to talk to Gilbert, sitting on top of the car, that in this squalor that supposedly, according to the Solras, that Donovan's or his cabal underground, those red hats, caused that he has some illegitimate business, right? You know, like he's got some stuff going on, so he doesn't just leave it alone after he destroys it, according to them, right? If you ask me, I say that's probably true up to a degree, but from my experience, I think Solras has the majority of the monkey business in the slums and in the places of poverty and so on and so on. Now, when there's poverty, the Solras can buy services and assassinations and whatnot for a very small amount of money, right? Now, at the end of the movie, I began to think maybe Solras is really behind the Donovan as well, and the Tad Fielding as well. So he's playing the two pincers, right, of a tarantula, if you will, or a or a crab, right? You know, the crab has those two pincers or two cutters and so on. So he plays people against each other, and then after all the bad things have been done, Solras comes to harvest. So now in the car, Donovan and Gilbert are talking, and in the back sits a woman with a baby, so Gilbert, poor Gilbert, he's doing what he's doing because he has a family to feed and so on. So it's not because he understands the word. He says, Donovan asks him, do you have the word straight? I really don't know what that is. And he says, Gilbert answers, he wouldn't get them straight even if 100 years later or something of the sort. I don't know what the words are here, but I think it's the instructions or what he's got to say to Shimonson or JFK for that matter when he kills him, or what he's saying is, do you know what they mean, or do you, he's dumb what he's saying. Gilbert is your typical goyim, genitalia, Gentile, us, ourselves, and so on, that they really don't understand the thing, right? What a monkey business, man. So now, something just right after the meeting between Donovan and Gilbert, camera moves, the scene moves into Shimonson's house, and there's a computer. It says computer space. And the screen is blue, and that's indicative, of course, of computers now being used to pocket, trillions and so on daily basis. You got the pen, Joby or Trump or Obama, and the Bush and whoever, right? And their minions or their brothers in the Congress, they sign daily basis trillions to pass to the stock market and to cryptocurrency and to Junius IPOs, and the ones that close, like he works, right? We do not work, right? The government paid the IPO, and now I think it's closed or something of the sort, right? So all you have to do is just be born special and then open a garage with 3-legged tables and so on temporarily, and the government pays billions for Junius IPOs, right? And then it closed down afterwards, right? On account of the work. So the computer has a blue screen, right? And it's got computer space. And then if you look closely, well, let's pause. I'm gonna play it first. How does that compare this blue has a special? Okay, so now Sheryl is playing that computer game, computer space. They are telling you how things are going to happen through computers and communications, right? But if you observe the screen through the camera, and you will see that there are two distinct dates in it. It starts with 0012 or the year 12, and then it ends with 2222, right? The 22. That's what they're talking about in the movie, right? Number of, or the population size, or in New York, 40 million, and then in year 2022, half of them are unemployed and so on. So obviously, the events on the screen, this blue screen, do correspond to events as well, right? They show the date, but while they're showing the date, they move from 2200 or 0 hour of 2012. You see 2015, 2019. I think you see 2019. So that corresponds to events as well, because the game itself is shooting asteroids, or it says rich people or entities or corporates, right? And then on that day or whatever, right? On that day, or that shows up on the right side of the screen, something is getting destroyed or shot, right? And that is supposedly portrayed as an asteroid. However, it may mean something else, like corporate, like communications, like banking. Yeah, you know what it is, right? So that's what it is. As a matter of fact, it says Sheryl says after the game that she destroyed 5 in one shot or something of the sort. That's how, if you control computers, that's how easy for them now, instead of having to do paperwork, and it's very difficult. It has maximum or limits, if you will. The process of stealing, if it's on paper, if financial systems are still on paper, it has what's called limits, right? You need to break through limits to virtuality. That's what this movie is talking about. So it's stock market, cryptocurrency, and so on and so forth. By 2022, this was supposed to have happened, right? So now they enter Mr. Shimonson or Simonson. I mentioned in the video before this, the number three, that he may be JFK. Could be, I explained that there, but if I go back to the normal theory or the apparent theory, is that Shimonson is part of the cabal, right? Because we all know, right, since 400 years now, who is who. Ask any average American, who's like educated or whoever it is. They never speak, but if you really force the point and then uh, uh, begin to realize the echo from what is within, they know what's going on, right? Who is who and what is what. Maybe not in details, but they really know who the culprit is. Similar to us uh, uh, identifying and knowing the reality of communism. For example, its founders, its directions, who it served, and its purpose, and so on and so forth. Any educated man knows that, right? And so is Nazism by now, here, Simonson is one of the cabal, but they want to find a reason, right, to exonerate him, falsely exonerate him. That while he's part of the cabal, they describe him as a great man. They describe him, and they show him remorseful and with tormented conscience, and so on and so forth. And he's hesitant. He doesn't know what to do, and he's rethinking his steps and so on and so forth. Why? Because they want to tell you that Mr. Blue Shimonson here, Shimonson, is really good on the inside. I've seen him describe serial killers when I saw documentaries on serial killers on TV, such as Loeb and Leopold and Son of Sam. The first thing they begin with is that they're genius people, right? And when you say genius people, it leaves you with, it leaves you with some kind of awe and respect, right? It disables your hatred, if you will, toward serial killers. Who doesn't, dislike serial killers and wants to stop them and so on? Every healthy man would want to do so, right? So here they're saying the same thing, really. It's really the same approach, if you will. So now Sheryl thanks Shimonson for the toy. Uh, and he was like, thank you for the toy. And he says, I'm glad it amused you. Like, she was very appreciative. Right now, things are flowing in mass, right, in numbers. No need to carry take that Wells Fargo wagon and fill it with cash and move along, with guns and so on. Now it's a press of a button, fake or false. Monkey business goes on in mass, in giant numbers, in big numbers, right? In very very large amounts and so on. And it can't get any better, right? The monkey business goes on, and that's that computer space. That's what they're saying in the computer space. They didn't say or write on the video game, computer game or computer or anything. Computer space, like in your space, in the aerospace, in computer space, and here is a generic term, is where things are going to happen, is what they're saying. But Shimonson is going to get killed and he's willing to take the punishment by his cabal, that those red hats, right? Red hat, by the way, is what they used to wear, I think, in Venice, in the ghettos. They made them wear red hats or something of the sort, the rabbis, because they want to distinguish them or something of the sort. I don't know. Yeah, it's getting late. According to the inventory, they're low on everything. That's what that feeling says. And he interrupted the private session between Sheryl paying with, pleasure for the computer space, right? And then she leaves, and then she promises him to bring him a surprise. What is that surprise? Here's something about JFK's assassination. Something bothered me about that drive in Dallas. The first shot, I couldn't tell what it is. The second shot, I would swear, if you go review it again, I saw it was from someone in the car. I saw Connolly, who was sitting in front of the president, or John Kennedy, turned around, and something, I don't know, I'm not sure, something showed up at his sleeve, something was in his sleeve, right? And then he fired he fired that shot, that second shot from the front. I thought it was Connolly, I swear. The first shot, I don't know where it came from. I think there was some kind of silencers in the car, and then somebody shot from way outside, right? It was managed. I had a feeling that the bullets really were fired from within the car itself. The second one, I don't know. This was a long time ago. I noticed that like decades back ago. But I didn't really take much into it or think much into it. But it's still stuck in my brain. For me, I thought Connolly fired something from his sleeve. I don't know. Go review it again. You guys have like those specialized machines that process graphics and so on. But that's what I thought. So, was the first shot fired from within the car itself? I don't know. Second one? Oh, I don't know. But the second one, I was almost, not 100%, almost sure it was fired from within the car, from the sleeve of Connolly. I don't know. I don't know. But that's the impression I had actually. So the surprise, she's gonna bring him a surprise. Now she tells Dad Fielding that she demolished 5 saucers, right, with one rocket. Like 2 birds with 1 stone, 5 birds with 1 stone. And the monkey business continues. Do you remember the saucers in my commentary on 2001 Snake Odyssey, when Haywood Floyd sitting down in that private fighter jet like spaceship, very sophisticated, that looked like a fighter jet, right? And then in front of him in that screen there was like real saucers, right, flying saucers, which were experimented on by the US military way back, because they were trying to see if flying saucer performs better than a jet airplane, or many experiments were done by the US military and NASA, I think, one of which is called X-plane, one of which is, the swiveling wings, like if you're making a right turn, banking right, the left wing, or the wings, like, swings so as to generate lifts and so on. All these turned out to be nothing really, not good. They were abandoned. But I think the prototypes are still there somewhere. So she just demolished 5 corporations. Governments. Like saucers in one rocket. That's what happens when you get computers, right? Computers can do anything you want to. I can program a program in the computer. Computer doesn't understand. It's dumb. Computers do what the programmer tells them to do. So programmers can write you a program in 1 or 2 minutes, and then you can use. And that, if you tell it, the computer 1 by 1 equals 1, it'll give you back 2, right? It's what the programmers put in the computer. Computers doesn't know shit, right? So also, as you can see, the background of Shimonson and his blue world sphere or pod or cell or man cave, right? He's got books on the wall, bookstore, book shelves and so on. So pretty genius. Genius and smart and so on. Luxury couches. Oh, the house is like. This guy doesn't sleep on the steps, right? So now after Sheryl leaves and you're looking at him, he starts like cogitating and thinking and, something in his mind, right? But next to him there's that lighting, chandelier light, or not chandelier, rather than a light fixture hung down from the ceiling. That light fixture looks like a camera to me, or some kind of a monitoring device. In today's term, they're very nano devices. They put them in your eyeglasses, your pens, you name it, right? And in fact, if there are no need for electronics sometimes, they accompany you with doubles, like those beings that you don't see and so on. Oh, you don't believe me, huh? I'm surrounded by those, right? And of course, he's cogitating. Now I know about those blue suits and black suits and brimmed hats and so on. Oh, they don't hesitate or have any qualms about what they do. For $1, if there's $1 and they can get away with it, they will lay down an entire nation to ruins and death and misery, only to take that dollar. and they would turn their back and go to sleep as if nothing happened. So now we're in the shop where, that private, very private shop, and the guy sitting in a cage, like with wire and protection and so on, and it's all blue, right? And he talks about 279 Ds. Sheryl and Tad are there to get supplies. I think that means money, a lot of money, uh, uh, and so on, right? And he's talking Ds. Now, was Ds the norm of the day back then to say dollar is Ds? I don't think so. Uh, I never heard or read, ever since I came to this country in 1981 or the US, I never heard them say Ds for dollar, right? Dollars. And I didn't read that this was the case before I came to this country either. So these obviously are values now, cryptocurrency, things of the sort that are now in use. And, there's that place. Sounds to me like that cage where that blue is and so on. Sounds to me like that's some kind of a Mossad operation, and you find them here and there. You never know, of course, but that's what it sounds like here. All right. So he said, call it 279D even. He says, sign it, Brady. Sign the order. That's what I think. I don't know what sign it means here, Brady. Because he's paying. Apparently, he's got dollars, right? So why sign it? I don't know. He means sign the order. JFK, right? That's what I think. So sign it, Brady. So he signed the order, and then now she's asking for something special, beef, dead meat, right? So now Sheryl, he asked her. He didn't forget about her request, right? So he asked her to enter the cage. Only those blue and black are allowed to enter the cage, right? That's exclusive, mother. So now we're seeing that the city, gloomy, dark, blue, uh, city that is not so obvious. It's very dark, right? That's where Shimonson lives, right? And then Gilbert is now come to assassinate him or to put him to waste, right? I don't know what that means. Does that mean the city is no longer? Well, the city, what they're trying to indicate here is the city is no longer alive. Its essence have been absorbed and sucked out uh, uh, by, who, right? And only few windows are lit. The rest is just dark. Even the canal is dry. Almost nothing flows in it anymore. The metaphor here is the job in 2022 is almost done, and nothing is really left except those few that are meant to survive the onslaught or the apocalypse that has been going on in the world on financial level, on social level, on population level, and so on and so forth. I think that's what this picture here. This is when uh, uh, Gilbert is crossing the canal to come up and assassinate Shimonson. Is what this picture, what this scene here is. The other side of the story is in this dark scene here, the blue city, the dark dead city is that nobody can afford to live there anymore, right? Now everything is virtual. Supposedly in 2022, crypto would have taken over and dollar is gone. And there's even attempts now to really de-dollarize, as they say, BRICS and whatnot. It's bullshit, folks. But there was such a drive, right? The BRICS by China and Russia and Iran and Saudi and India and so on. All that alliance against the US, right? Which is the tripod of Israel, right? That said, well, that's what that could mean also, is that nobody can live in the city anymore. The city is reserved for the crypto and the blues and, things of the sort, is what they're trying to say here. Everybody is gone, right? I hear a lot or view a lot of videos about San Francisco, basically almost collapsing as a city, and that's probably not the only place. So apocalypse was in the making, and it was supposed to have culminated in 2022. Europe will have been taken over by Russia, and the Middle East by Iran, and China will have dominated Asia, and so on. And the United States scuttled like a ship, right, in the ocean, and so on, all by the sole gas, right? But didn't work. So here, what he's trying to say is Gilbert is digging through the walls. The walls are concrete and thick of the canal, right? Because to reach Shimonson, it's not, you just don't walk in. You have to dig and burrow underneath and dig through walls. And the picture here of Gilbert, striking with that crowbar, striking the wall of the canal with the crowbar to make a step or a niche to like a cavity, so as he to use to climb up, right? It's not that simple. It's a fortress, is what they're trying to say. So as Gilbert is climbing the wall, you would see like a number of lights, right? So they count 1416 or 14161 or something of the sort. So here there is a lot of symbolism and numerology, if you will, and depiction of certain things. But you know what? You have to read everything that you see. So when a movie takes 3 years or 2 years to finish, and it's like 2 hours long, they didn't spend 2 years on because they had difficulty taking photos and so on. So the metaphor here is that the environment where the cabal where Shimonson lives is in fact impregnable, and you have to have the insider's view and burrow under and come in the night unannounced, meaning they don't see you coming. Remember what's his name? Al Pacino telling what's his name? Keanu Reeves. They don't see him coming. Yeah, on the wall you'd see Chelsea West written on the window or something of the sort. Comes up later. So now we're seeing Simonson in his room, again contemplating things, probably remembering the bad things he's doing or he's done, and so on. And there's that pillow with like fur, and it looks like a spider or some kind of a creature. I think that's like a spider or octopus, which really denotes tentacles that holds the world or something of the sort, right? So he's in power or something. I don't know, but I assure you, if JFK, if that's JFK, I think he probably was feeling sorry or bad, right? And conducted himself as a patriotic American, maybe, I don't know. If not, I assure you, Simonson don't cogitate on anything or contrition or feeling of remorse or contrition. These guys just step on all nations and never look back. Even. So now Gilbert tells Simonson before he kills him, of course, that he's become unreliable. They're telling him he's become unreliable and so on. Why that is true, but now he's feeling human, being in that location, in that place, having to destroy and kill and shoot. You've seen it, right? You got to have balls, right? When you kill and shoot and aim, and you have to have balls. And that now he's feeling a little bit humanistic, right? And that is unreliable for the cabal, right? So if that's JFK, that's what they mean, right? And then when he says to God, I don't know. I don't think they mean God in heavens or the one we believe in, right? The God of Abraham, or anybody else for that matter, right? I think what they mean by that is the I noticed here in the West they worship person, like the governor. They used to say most worshipful or something of the sort, in that series of Salem witch trials, and I saw a series. I forgot the writer's name, the author's name, and they called the governor most worshipful and so on. I think the White House here has the most worshipful because they believe in worshiping people as gods and so on and so forth. I'm just speculating. That's not Herman Melville. Who was that? Who wrote that? The Scarlet Letter, right? Was it? I forgot. So that's what he's saying here. Before he killed him, he said, you become unreliable. Now you have those human emotions, you devil mother. So now back again. Here they're trying to say that Simonson is not exactly evil. He fell onto it, like, or because now he's a loose cannon, right? He fell onto it, onto this bad business, like. But he's not really all that bad, and so on. This is something say that says that Lot and Leopold, and Son of Sam, Jeffrey Dahmer, whoever it is, they're really good on the inside. Or Gacy, that's of Lagrange, I think, was it? Yeah, John Wayne Gacy, right? They're trying to say, they're good on the inside. I don't know. You never know what's in the heart of someone. But that's what they're saying, is that they're trying to give him a cover that now he's having a moment of awakening, and but he's a loose cannon. Not true, folks. Not true at all. No. Uh, they cannot risk a catastrophe. So now he is about to cause a catastrophe, the collapse of the whole entire edifice of underground, ruthless, bloody, and, business of horror, right? Of transforming the world, of robbing the world, of destroying the world. So now, what was being planned for and explained in this movie? Sometimes you have to see the narrative carries a hidden meaning, sometimes intentional, sometimes unintentional. Leading to the year 2022, the world was divided in two camps. One large one, and these are the ones who were going to end up in their cars, on the pavement, and on stairwells, and so on. And then the virtuality and the theft of the business. And these people, the very minority, the Soul Ross, and that's it, right? Soren doesn't go that route. Soren is just a Oliver Twist, and when his role has been concluded, he was going to be trashed, right? And then these people were going to jump over a valley. Remember, what's his name? Evil Knievel jumping over the Grand Canyon and so on. But he falls in the middle. And then in 2022, in my opinion, was going to be the leap that basically totally separated the two camps. So this is something similar to that, or most likely it is the lifeboat leaving the Titanic, right? And then the Titanic was gonna sink, right? And then obviously a new world is gonna be evolved, or be, like, is gonna appear, and so on. I don't think they made that leap or jump or anything else, and there's a problem now. They miscalculated by colossal magnitude, on a colossal magnitude, cosmic magnitude. That's how miscalculated. The miscalculations, they were that far, right? That bad. So he tells Gilbert, Stevenson tells Gilbert, not right but necessary. Here, what he's trying to say is that those people function by what's necessary. Right and wrong doesn't matter. That's what Stevenson is saying now. Necessary to who? To God. Who's God? I don't know. I don't think. The God that I know of doesn't condone or order or enjoying that stuff, or that monkey business. Okay, I'm gonna stop here now. Shimonson gave up the ghost and was killed, and there is here that Charles, without last name, red coat, and the 4 monitors, the 4-1, right? Now. So we'll continue next time. And, have a nice day.